You're with Newsmakers. On the panel, Yani Johanson, Sharon Torstonson and Mayor Garry Jackson. It's been one of the most divisive civic issues of the year, and the planned music school conservatorium at the Arts Centre has a long way to go yet. Of course, a week ago, the City Council voted in favour of the $24 million funding plan, despite a huge volume of submissions against it. It was a cliffhanger vote around the council table, which is not a common thing in Christchurch in recent years. What should we read into that?
Oh, I think you can read into it that a number of councillors had concerns that were not addressed through the consultation process. There were a number of people that made very good submissions as to whether or not there's actually any benefit from this proposal at all. And I think what it shows is that a number of councillors were very concerned at the way in which this process was happening and couldn't see the clear benefits of what the university is trying to propose.
It was interesting that a number of city councillors who voted against the funding proposal seemed to do so particularly because they felt, since this is a university initiative, they should be going cap in hand to the government if they need some sort of funding facility, not a local body. Do you find that a compelling argument? Is there a mismatch between having ratepayers bankroll a university initiative?
I don't think there is necessarily a mismatch as long as all of the numbers are out there into the public domain and for the councillors to work with absolute clarity. And again, forgive me, I shouldn't criticise another council's process, and I won't criticise that process, but to me it's critical that the right numbers, the accurate numbers, be on the table in the business case with absolute clarity for everyone to understand. And if that case is compelling, that there is an opportunity for the local council to get involved, then yes, pursue it. But based on absolute clarity of information. And the other issue in this is, and I had this discussion with someone else about it, is with local bodies getting involved in, let's call it business ventures, you cannot, in my personal view, hide behind the screen of commercial sensitivity, because you're actually working with ratepayers' money. So you go into a business venture knowing that you have to do it in the public domain.
Absolutely right.
When it comes to the core business of councils, which is a topical theme at the moment for the local government minister, do you think he'll be keeping a watching brief on this particular issue? Sharon?
I think he's keeping a watching brief on quite a few things at present.
He's watching us all.
I mean, Mike, you know, the irony of this decision by council is a number of councillors who voted for council to give the university the $24.3 million are the same councillors that cut community funding on the basis that groups should be the responsibility of central government. And it would be very interesting to know in their own minds how they actually justify that contradiction, because it is a huge contradiction. On one hand, as a council, we've cut grants to community groups because we believe they should be someone else's responsibility. Yep. On the other hand, we're giving the university a huge amount of money to develop a proposal when they should be getting funded from central government.
How do you see it, Sharon?
A lot of the controversy has been over various different fields. Not only should the council be bankrolling this, but also should it be going there in the first place. There's three different players there, and they've all got their role to play. I'm interested in the decision to bring part of the university back into the city, and I can see the pros and cons in that. And it worries me that it doesn't seem to fit with the Greater Christchurch Urban Development Strategy, which is proposing a model of our city and the outer regions as a series of nodes or villages or hubs where people will actually meet all their needs in that one geographic area. That would also fit along the concerns around sustainability, public transport and so on. If you're going to have a body of students commuting between Ilam and central Christchurch, what's that going to do to that whole issue around public transport? I mean, it would be great if we had a tube or something they could just jump on and whiz through, but they don't have that. I mean...
So Sharon's right. Instead, they're building more car parks in the central city. At the same time, we're trying to say to people, use public transport, go by bike, use alternative methods. And here we are building a car park in the middle of the city and encouraging people to drive in. It doesn't make sense.
There is obviously a long way for this issue to go, and we've had a wee delay in the resource consent process, which is interesting. It's intriguing in itself, really, isn't it? But no doubt the issue will roar back into life early next year.
That just highlights what a complete shambles the whole process has been.
Although, to play devil's advocate, couldn't it be argued that Rod Carr & Co deserve some recognition for heeding the groundswell of concerns about the designs of this proposal.
Absolutely not, Mike. In fact, at the start of this process, the university should have gone to the council and said, we're interested in building a school of music. Let's have a conversation with our community about how that can happen. It picks up on the point that Sharon raised before. A better process would have been to work with people, because most people in the city, I think, support the university, but they do not support the way in which the heavy-handed approach, the take it or leave it approach that university has done in this particular deal.
All right. Very quickly, ACC, they have become 3 very offensive letters in the eyes of motorcyclists, and on Tuesday thousands of leather-clad protesters roared into Wellington to express their wrath at the proposed levy hikes. Are they politically untenable, these increases? Sharon?
Yes.
Do you think there should be some form of increase for motorcyclists?
I would like to see a better conversation about the so-called ACC blowout. I don't know if you saw the article in The Listener a couple of weeks ago, which basically said, well, excuse us, but they haven't had a blowout. They've had a remodelling of predicted future expenditure, which then comes onto the books as debt. But it actually hasn't got there yet, and it's all just because they've decided to re-examine what their future expenditure might be and have come up with a different scenario. Now, who knows what the scenario is going to be down the track, and maybe it is justified, but let's have, once again, that open conversation about the figures. Let's be transparent about it. Let's have a look and see what predictions are made and why, and whether that does actually justify this so-called debt blowout, because it's just a paper debt, it's not a real one.
I've got about 30 seconds left. Quick comment, Garry?
I'm inclined to agree with Sharon. I think it comes down to the clarity of the information, and I don't think it's actually there. I think there is probably a problem, and I think the country is not in good shape from a financial viewpoint at all. So I think there actually is an issue. I don't think they've handled it at all well.
I know the ACC minister pointed out that 10 years ago there was one ACC claim for every 69 motorbikes. Last year there was one for every 18. Something's got to change, eh?
Oh, look, this is untenable. This is a government that promised tax cuts, didn't deliver, said to people, you'll be better off under us, and what have they done? Introduced user charges. People are going to be worse off, and I don't think politically it's tenable.
All right. You were actually quite brief with that answer, Yani.
One of the briefest answers I've ever given on this show. Right?
We'll crystallise the moment. We'll be back very shortly.